Hi everybody, my name's Greg. My friends call me the Corporate Yogi. I've got a question for you. Would you rather burn brightly or burn out? Today I want to talk to you about motivational schemes. Because let's face it, so many people today in the workplace are stressed, irritated, agitated, and in fact are burning out. Did you know that big corporates today plan for the life cycle of a top executive in position to be somewhere between 10 to 15 years before burnout and before replacement? Now, what causes this? Well, in fact, it's all to do with the motivational schemes we have in place. And there are many types of motivation, yet the ones that stand out for me are the unnatural motivation, which is something that we have had to deal with from being a very young age. And that's toward away from motivation. It's also sometimes referred to as extrinsic motivation because the motivation is coming from the outside. The other type of motivation is the motivation I'm here to call you to tune into. And that's the natural form of motivation. It's the motivation, the energy is supplied by what are known as your fundamental needs. And this is intrinsic motivation. It comes from within you, your own guiding inner force and power. So the unnatural motivation that we've all been subject to is this carrot and stick motivation. And in fact, if you look back at the earliest literature on this, you find that human beings, you and I, are referred to in the literature as a donkey. And they talk about how to move the donkey. So you have this unreachable carrot at the front end, which means that the donkey in perpetuity is going to chase a carrot that it can never really reach. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's right. Chasing rainbows, chasing those moonshots, never actually quite reaching them. And in the process of finding yourself on life's treadmill, running, chasing, eventually burning out. Or the away from motivation, that wonderful stick from behind, I am joking, that is there to remind you of your underperformance, of your failures, of the times that you're not maintaining the standards that other people, let's emphasize it, other people expect of you. This is a punishment-based scheme, which is why eventually, that's right, it leads to you and I burning out. I know I experienced it on many occasions. And these patterns are installed from childhood. You may remember being incentivized to finish your dinner. If you finish your dinner, you can go out and play. You may remember being incentivized. If you want to have your friends over, you need to do your homework. Now, some of these things can sound positive at first glance, yet what they're lacking is the inability of the parent or guardian to communicate clearly about one individual topic that they want you to achieve. Instead of doing that, they create a layer of complexity, which means that these requests are interwoven in such a way that they actually, over time, create subtle yet dark, interwoven, nefarious schemes. But I want you to be aware that alive and well today, these patterns, these schemes, these hidden motivational schemes inside of politics, inside of marketing, inside of religion, inside of our social lives. They're in fact everywhere. So why should we want to solve this unnatural motivation? Well, it might be because of the side effects, side effects like depression. Have you ever felt depressed? I have. Depletion. Have you ever been depleted? I have. Conflicted, this inner irritation, agitation, or the pulls inside of us where we feel like we're being pulled in two directions at once. And that's because quite often we are, because these subliminal motivational schemes are working away, and in fact they're corrosive. That's the impact that it has inside of us. It corrodes us as human beings. And so there are many hidden costs. You can wake up one day and realize how deeply dishonest you've become. Why? Because you were pursuing other people's aims aimlessly, in a way, because you were incentivized to do so. And then you realize that a lot of these practices were deeply dishonest. You may wake up and find that you become incredibly greedy. Why? Because you began to model and mirror these people that were teaching you. And you may find in other ways that you become lazy. Now, not in maybe the typical way, but lazy in as much that you have started to choose to try to take shortcuts. And we see this throughout society today, all of which are being driven by these unnatural motivation schemes. So my word to you is stop being driven by unnatural motivation. Remove what I am going to term, and my teacher gave to me, is the Trojan horse. This pattern that has been embedded in you needs to be removed. We also need to remove, if it was an IT system, the back door into our system. You know, this has been so deeply embedded that it's now usable and accessed across all media. And in fact, it's like a back door into our system. We are motivated to go and buy things or to vote for things or to agree to things by us subscribing to unconsciously this system, which we need to get ourselves out of. So why is that? Because other people are prioritizing what counts for them. Let's say that again. Other people are prioritizing what counts for them rather than what really matters to you and to me. And this is us moving ourselves back to take back control, to be able to head towards what it is that is really important to you and I. Maybe it's your freedom, your sovereignty. Maybe you have other ways of expressing it, your inner peace, your inner freedom. Maybe it's your inner prosperity. So what we want to do is stop this dependency on others and the outside world through these unnatural motivation schemes. So there was a successful businessman and he got caught up in this scheme. Now you might, to start with, say he was materially successful. He had the wealth, all the trappings, the fast car, probably the things that you are pursuing at this moment in time. The things that actually you'll come to realize are grinding you down and leaning towards irritating you, agitating you, and causing these inner tensions and dilemmas. And he learned about the motivational patterns. He was taught by a teacher, someone similar to me, and he saw the problem immediately. Once he'd been shown, he couldn't not see it anymore. And as a consequence, he realized that nobody around him, in fact, loved him. They were all working based on manipulative schemes that he had himself begun to run in the environment around him, family, business, friends. And at that point of realizing no one loved him, he was completely desolate, broke down, cried for what appeared an age before then piecing himself back together. And how did he do that? Well, he took action and he knew that he needed to remove these old patterns, these old schemes, these devices of other people that were in fact embedded in him, that were leading him to a place of desperation, stress and despair. So he took the time to transform his own life. Family and friends, many of them did in fact leave him. And he then found himself surrounded instead by wonderful people. I'm going to come on to talk to you about that. Why? Because he found real freedom through dismantling this inner unacceptable way of being. He also found peace and continued to enjoy prosperity. So I want to encourage you to move towards burning brightly, which is accessing a superior way of learning. Now, this, in fact, it's a gradual process. First of all, you need to see the problem. Hopefully, I've laid it out well for you there. Then you need to understand these motivational schemes and understand that they're, in fact, not working for you. And then you need to also understand your inner willpower. That's your inner strength that has been corroded and eroded that you now need to reinstall so that you can make proactive decisions and keep to them. So what happens when we're being driven by these natural forces, by what I'm going to refer to as fundamental needs? These are inside of you, they're fundamental, it's what you really need. This, let me tell you, is the source of natural motivation. And so what we're talking about is enhancing natural qualities that you were born with. They were inborn within you when you were born. It's just that this unfortunate layer was built across the top. So there's been too much noise and distraction and disharmony and unbalance. And so you've not been able to access them yet. So what also occurs is you become aspirational in nature. You start to look up. You start to head based on purpose. You reconnect with the idea of mission. You start to move in a direction which feels great and feels uplifting. This is a harmonious way, in fact, to live. Most people, when they find these fundamental needs and they begin to live by them and begin to nurture them, they feel alive for the first time in their lives, and they begin to enjoy their businesses and the world around them more fully. So we need to be solving this unnatural motivation. And the key to it is you making peace with yourself, making peace within a journey that I went on. What will that lead to? Improved inner health. It'll mean you will have greater vitality. You'll find yourself capable, you'll be lucid, capable each day of achieving more, enjoying business meetings more, definitely generating better outcomes for yourself and for others in all the situations that you find yourself in. And therefore, in this way, improving the relationship with yourself and all of the people around you, business and otherwise. So what we're saying, stop the corrosive schemes and stop them now. So what's the solution? Well, first step, making peace with yourself. Another way to say that is to stop the acts of violence. These schemes actually are violent schemes. And when you begin to see that, you'll begin to understand that. To make peace, you need to make a deeper inner connection within yourself and a deeper inner powerful connection within yourself. We do that by finding silence within, learning how to silence the mind, to turn off the chimp, to turn off those inner irritations, agitations, those voices that you feel will never go away. You can learn to turn them off. And then you find the tranquil place within. Notice this gradual progression to the tranquil place within. And then as you do, you begin to see your inner inborn aspirations emerge. I can validate this. I know this. This is a path that I have walked before you. So we allow these inner aspirations then, and we feel into them, and they become like new shoots emerging, springing up in the springtime. So this is your hero's journey, and this is where it begins. And as you begin then to nurture these shoots, what you realize is the tools that you've always longed for begin to grow as well. Why? Because this path, to step onto it, requires courage. The real inner freedom, the real peace and prosperity that people are looking for, hankering after, requires them to be courageous and to take courageous steps. So you'll notice that as you do, you'll grow willpower, you'll grow inner courage, you'll become certain in your ways, and you'll notice that as a being, you're acting on purpose, maybe for the first time in your life. So what's the shortest way to get there? Well, the shortest way is the straight line from 0 to 1. And because these are inbuilt within you, then we need to take that short line, that direction within, to go straight to the source of these inner aspirations, to go straight to the source of these opportunities, to go straight to the source of your inner motivation, which will guide you and support you to climb the path of your life ahead. So as I said, it takes courage when you need to deal with a crisis. And when you see it, like the businessman I mentioned before, you'll realize that this, in fact, is indeed a crisis that requires us to, first of all, turn the lights full on the problem. And when we do that, we realize that we've been sat in a dimly lit room that all of a sudden all the darkness is dispelled from. And we start to see the dark corners that have accumulated over time. Once we see them, we need to tell ourselves the truth. The saying, the truth will set you free. This is where it becomes even more relevant to you as you begin to see the schemes, unpick them and unravel them. Even when things like dishonesty, greed and laziness, things that plague me, as I mentioned earlier, you begin to see them for what they are. And that can be deeply challenging, yet you're on the way through them now, on the way to the other side of them. So one of the things that you can do, if you're feeling called, if you're liking what I'm saying, then join us on School at www.school.com/transformation. Come in, enjoy the discussions that we have, enjoy the strategies that we share, enjoy the corporate yogi perspectives, which hopefully will help you to change a little or completely transform your current way of being, and also come and engage in practices, because in fact, everything that I'm talking about here relies on practice, you practicing, because practice makes the master. So finding your motivation means that you need to audit your internal mechanisms. You need to begin to see who it is that you've become and how it is that you got there. You can do this by taking the time to zoom out with a pad and a pen, turning the lights full on and scrutinizing and looking deeply into how you've gotten to the challenging situation or problematic situation that you find yourself in now. And a lot of people ask, I asked it many times, how long will it take to clean up? Well, when you're pondering time and how long it takes, you're already letting the clock tick down. The best answer I can give you is to start now. Now, from a yogic point of view, is the only time. And if you start now and you go all in, then you're already on the way to solving. In fact, when you do that, you stop asking questions about time. Time is no longer an issue. You're just simply in the process of resolving. And this path of inner intrinsic motivation is a path of progression, a path that requires at times efforts from you, or even super efforts. Eventually, though, where does it lead to? It leads to effortlessness, which is another way of expressing inner freedom, peace, and prosperity. This is a journey that you and I need to undertake if we want to have these experiences. This is sometimes referred to as your hero's journey. My encouragement to you today, thanks for listening. Keep taking the steps. You're heading in the right direction, and it won't be long before you begin to enjoy the changes and the transformations that are occurring within you.